You said something fair, something simple, something that needed to be said. And instead of hearing you, they collapse the tears, the shutdown, the rage that seems wildly out of proportion to what just happened. You have tried being gentler. You have tried being firmer. And nothing changes the collapse. You may have seen the trick going around right now that stops a tantrum cold, the one where a parent says a random name and the child stops crying mid-meltdown just to look around for whoever it is. 12 million people watched that video in a month. But not one of those 12 million views came with an explanation of why it works. And the reason it works is connected to the same thing driving the collapse you just watched in your own home. The distraction trick can work for a few days. But children are perceptive, they catch on fast, and once they do, the mystery disappears, and so does the calm. What no viral video has stopped to ask is why the interruption worked at all. And the answer to that question is the same answer that explains why your child collapses when you correct them, why they save their biggest emotions for you and no one else. But what this investigation is going to show you is that the collapse is not a behavior problem. It is a biology event. And the solution that stops it once and for all was discovered long before modern science had the tools to name what was happening inside your child's brain. The answer they all pointed to is not what most parents expect. And it is going to dramatically change the way you see the moment after you say something your child needs to hear. Part of what got me to research this topic was seeing yet another child completely shut down on her mom. At least I'm assuming it was her mom. In the grocery store. The little girl literally stopped frozen in place for a long while. It was odd, to say the least. I've seen some kids throw tantrums when they get something wrong or is corrected, and I've always wondered where that reaction came from. Well, let's get into this research and find out together. Picture a clay-walled household in the ancient Hurrian city of Nuzi, in northern Mesopotamia, approximately 2,500 years before the Common Era. The rooms are small and close. The father's authority is visible in everything: the arrangement of the household, the order in which people eat, the silence that falls when he speaks. A child in this household has made an error, a task left undone, a directive ignored, a minor failure in the expected order of things. The correction comes. And what happens next is recorded not in a parenting manual, but in the legal tablets and household records that archaeologists have been recovering from this site since the 1920s. Researchers studying Hurrian household documents have noted that the correction culture of this civilization operated inside a framework historians describe as honor and shame, a relational system in which a child standing in the household was directly tied to their compliance with the father's authority. To be corrected in that household was not a private moment, it was a public repositioning. It meant that your standing had dropped, and the emotional responses that followed: withdrawal, tears, prolonged distress that seemed out of proportion to the correction itself, were documented not as behavioral problems, but as expected expressions of what that repositioning meant to the child's sense of belonging. Developmental psychologists studying what happens inside a child's brain during correction have documented the biological mechanism behind exactly what those Hurrian children were experiencing. When a child is corrected by a primary attachment figure, the person they are most bonded to, the relationship their survival most depends on, the brain does not process it as instruction. It processes it as a threat. Researchers call this the social pain network. The documented finding that the brain processes relational pain, the pain of being wrong in the eyes of someone you love, in the same neural regions that process physical pain. This is not a metaphor. Your child's brain is not being dramatic. When that alarm fires, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles language, reasoning, and the ability to receive and act on correction, goes offline. The child standing in front of you is not capable of hearing what you are saying, not because they are choosing not to, because the part of their brain that could hear it has been overridden by a system that is trying to protect a relationship it cannot afford to lose. That is the misfire. A brain that was designed to protect the relationship is making it impossible to repair it in the moment that most needs repairing. The Hurrian records documented the outcome, without understanding the mechanism. The second civilization understood the mechanism well enough to try to engineer around it and produce the most documented collapse in the ancient record. what Roman and Greek sources recorded about Carthaginian household practice, understanding that these accounts carry the perspective of outside observers, describes a correction culture built on absolute authority. The Carthaginian household, as documented in Punic inscriptions and the accounts of ancient historians, operated on the principle that a child's emotional response to correction was itself a form of failure. A child who collapsed after correction was corrected again for the collapse. Researchers studying what developmental psychologists call secondary correction, correcting the child's emotional response to the original correction, have documented a specific and consistent outcome. When the alarm fires and the adult responds to the alarm itself as another failure, the brain now has two threats to manage simultaneously: the relational pain of the original correction and the relational pain of being wrong for feeling it. The prefrontal cortex does not come back online, the alarm deepens. And over repeated cycles, the child's nervous system begins to anticipate the double threat before it arrives, producing what researchers call hyperreactivity to correction, where the collapse begins earlier, runs deeper, and takes longer to recover from each time. The Carthaginian household was not producing obedient children. It was producing nervous systems that had learned to collapse preemptively because collapse was the only protection available. If what you are learning right now about why your child falls apart when they are corrected is giving you a new way to see what is actually happening, please take a second to like and subscribe. This is one of the most misunderstood moments in the parent-child relationship, and it is genuinely difficult for the algorithm to find the parents who need this content, but your one click helps the next parent to find it. Thank you. Rome built the most systematically documented correction culture in the ancient world. The paterfamilias, the absolute authority of the Roman father, is recorded in legal codes, philosophical writing, and the personal correspondence of Roman families. Correction was not an expression of love in the Roman household. It was an expression of order. And what Roman writers themselves documented about the outcome is remarkable. Quintilian, writing on the education of children in the 1st century of the Common Era, described a state he called a broken spirit, a child who had learned to suppress all emotional responses, including the responses that would have indicated genuine engagement and genuine learning. He documented that harsh correction, delivered without warmth, produced children who appeared compliant on the surface and were unreachable underneath. Researchers studying the neuroscience of correction and learning have confirmed exactly what Quintilian was observing. When the alarm system fires, learning stops. A child cannot process new information and manage a threat response at the same time. The correction lands on a nervous system in survival mode. And a nervous system in survival mode is not taking in what you are saying. It is protecting itself from the relationship it is most afraid to lose. Take 2 minutes right now and find out which inherited pattern shapes how you deliver corrections in your home. With the help of some powerful AI technology, I've created a remarkable pattern identifier that you can use for free. It's a quick quiz assessment designed to help parents uncover the parenting patterns they may have inherited. It reveals where those patterns may come from, how far back they can trace through your family history, and most importantly, how recognizing them can help you build a healthier, more positive relationship with your child. The link to the free quiz is in the description below. I'm going to be honest with you. At this point in the research, I was understanding the mechanics of it. Meaning I could do the steps, but I really wasn't understanding the root reason this made a difference. If you are at this point, let me tell you my own personal enlightenment. The word is safe. I'm thinking kids need to know that you and I as parents understand that while you want to get things right, that it is okay and safe to get things wrong while they are learning new things. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Now let's get back, because this next part is how I came to my own better understanding. The book of Proverbs, chapter 15, contains a line that reads like a neurological finding. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Ancient Hebrew wisdom writers were recording something that every civilization we have examined documented from the outside, without fully understanding from the inside, that the tone of a correction determines whether the alarm fires or stays quiet. Not the content, the tone. The relational signal carried in the voice, the face, and the body of the adult delivering it. Here is the override. 3 moments. Each one is specific. Each one is verifiable in your own home this week. The first moment is before the correction. Before you name what went wrong, restore the connection. A hand on the shoulder. Their name is spoken without an edge. A face that is present, not already frustrated. You are not softening the correction. You are sending the biological signal that lowers the alarm before it fires, so that the prefrontal cortex stays online long enough to actually hear what comes next. The second moment is the correction itself. Separate the behavior from the person, out loud, every time. That choice was not a good one. You always do this as an identity statement. The child's brain processes these differently. A correction aimed at a behavior leaves the relational bond intact. A correction aimed at identity triggers the alarm. One can be received, the other cannot. The third moment is after. This is the moment most parents miss. After a correction lands, the alarm system needs a signal that the relationship survived it. A brief, calm acknowledgement. I know that was hard to hear. I am still here. Not a renegotiation. Not a long conversation. Just the signal that the threat has passed, and the alarm can quiet. The Hurrian household documented the collapse without a framework for what caused it. Carthaginian correction culture proved what happens when the collapse is corrected again. Quintilian and the Roman record named the broken spirit that resulted. And the ancient Hebrew wisdom literature captured the entire biological mechanism in a single sentence, thousands of years before the first neuroscience lab measured what was actually happening in the brain. History documented it across 3 civilizations on 3 continents. Science confirmed the exact mechanism. Ancient wisdom named the principle that makes the override possible. Your child does not fall apart when you correct them because something is wrong with them or you. They fall apart because something is working in their mind exactly as it was designed, a brain that fires an alarm when the most important relationship it has feels threatened. And the most important relationship your child has is you. Your child falls apart with you because you are the relationship their brain is most afraid to lose. That is the difference between a correction that lands and one that only breaks. If this investigation changed how you see what happens when you correct your child, the next step is the pillar video. It is called Why Your Child is Exactly Who History Said They Would Be, and it traces every behavioral pattern in your child, all the way back through 4,000 years of documented civilizations. It goes further than any single episode can. It is the clearest picture this channel offers of what is running in your family right now. And if you want to know how to close the gap between you and your child, I urge you to watch this pillar video next. The link is in the description.